If you thought, hey, Aoife's done a pretty big book haul recently, we're not going to see anything for like 6 business months, we are all stupid. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I'm going to show you some of the books that came into my possession over August and September. Yes, I had a massive book haul that kind of came over the months of June and July, but that did not really seem to stop me because there is quite a large book haul at my feet that I am going to share with you right now. First up are 2 books by the same author that I don't think are like connected or a series. I'm pretty sure you can read these out of order. They are The Worst Best Man and The Wedding Crasher, both by Mia Soso. I have listened to the first maybe 2 or 3 chapters of The Worst Best Man by Mia Soso, and I think I just wanted to read it as a written copy. So went out and bought The Worst Best Man and then went out and bought The Wedding Crasher. Now, I will admit that The Wedding Crasher's purchase was very heavily influenced by Brianna from Four Paws in a Book. She is now badgering other people to get me to read this book. So I think if I don't enjoy this, Brianna's probably going to look up my address on the internet, come to my house and make sure that I enjoy the next one that she recommends to me. I know that the first book is about, I think her name is Lena. She is a wedding planner who is left at the altar on her own wedding day. And it transpires that the best man of the wedding is somewhat responsible for this decision having been made. And then eventually Lena and the best man have to work together on a separate project later on in their lives, and things just immediately start to clash. I'm not entirely sure what the story of The Wedding Crasher is about, but I have a feeling it's something to do with a wedding, obviously. And I am pretty excited to see where that is going to take me. Next up is a book that is pretty much everywhere on the internet at the moment, and that is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I have a feeling that this is a very formulaic book when it comes to Ali Hazelwood. Her books all seem to be quite similar. They have a very tall, very broad, very physically large male character and a female male character who is about the size of a grain of rice. So this is about B. Königswasser, who is an engineer, and Levi, who is tall and attractive in an attractive and dark and piercing eyes kind of a way. Somebody tell Ali Hazelwood that tall is not a personality trait. I have heard people say that this is somewhat similar to The Love Hypothesis, and I really enjoyed Love Hypothesis, but I'm not super keen for this to be the same story just in a different jacket. Next up is another one that is doing the rounds on the internet at the moment, and that is Tomorrow, Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is going to be a little bit of a different road for me. I have a feeling that this is very heavily literary fiction. It's got a very heavy storyline to it, and that's not something that I read quite a lot, but I have seen so many great reviews. I know that one of my friends on Real Life has read this, has loved this, has been pushing people to read this book, and the hype got to me. The intrigue has gotten to me so much that I went out and bought my own copy. Next up is again 2 books by the same author. That is Drunk on Love and By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. I'm gonna give Jasmine Guillory another try. I have already read The Wedding Date, and I had to DNF it after about 100 pages because it was just too many mentions of food, too many mentions of like them getting together and not communicating with each other. And I really hope that that was just a once-off, because I really like the idea of By the Book. It is set in like a publishing house. It's got 2 people who are working in publishing, kind of like an enemies to lovers romance. And I'm just intrigued to see how her writing is going to have evolved from there. I know that these are her 2 most recent books. I don't think they have anything to do with the universe or the storyline that was in The Wedding Date. So hopefully I'm going to get on a little bit better with this one. Next up is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I've seen the cheat sheet everywhere. It's all over my Instagram feed at the moment, but I instantly went for this one instead. This sounded a little bit more like my kind of thing. It is about Amelia, who has spent a lot of her life as teenage pop sensation Ray Rose. And that was one of my favorite parts of How I Met Your Mother, that one of the characters, Robin, had a teenage life as a massive pop star sensation. So Amelia is trying to revamp her life and heads off to this tiny little town in Kentucky called Rome. And here she meets with the owner of a bakery, and it's a really small town, cozy romance. I don't think this is a very steamy book, but I also don't think that situation would lead itself to being a steamy book. I just want Bake Off, MasterChef, cozy vibes for this book. Next up is The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. This is kind of a follow-up to The Spanish Love Deception, which I haven't read yet. But I saw Nikki from Nikki's Book Nook talking about this book and saying that she thought it was better than The Spanish Love Deception. So why not see what happens? I know that this is about a woman named Rosie who has to move into her friend Lena's apartment when her water pipes break and there is just water all over the apartment. But she doesn't know that Lena's cousin is also living in the apartment. And if you give me a book that's got forced proximity in it, I am going to eat it whole. Next is a book by the actual love of my life. If this man turned up at my doorstep and said, I have fallen utterly in love with you, we need to leave, I am not even going to pack. I'll pick up whatever we need on the road. This is Taste by Stanley Tucci. I understand that this is part memoir, part cookbook. And I have got a thing for cookbooks. I'm really trying to cook something from every cookbook that I own. I actually had a series on this channel called Cooking the Books where I did try and cook everything out of every single cookbook I owned, but somehow abandoned it, and I'm not sure if I'm going to bring it back or not, but maybe Stanley Tucci might be the first one to come into here. I have a feeling that this is going to be really cozy because Stanley comes from an Italian family. I love Italian food, so this is going to be a match made in heaven. Next up, I went into my local Talia and they had a blind date with a book on one of their shelves, and I was kind of drawn to the romance book. I don't remember what the words that were on the piece of paper were. I probably should have kept that. But the book that came out was The Idea of You by Robin Lee. I had never heard of this book before, but the cover really gives me Elton John vibes. I think this is about a celebrity romance, and I love a celebrity romance. I love a kind of pop star or movie star and just normal person romance, and seeing that kind of juxtaposition of worlds put into the book. So I'm really excited to see how this one's going to go. Next up is probably one of my most anticipated books on this haul, and that is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors of all time. Any book that I have read from her instantly touches gold, but I don't know how this one's going to go. This one is about Carrie Soto, a former tennis player, world champion holder, record holder, and she's coming back to defend her record when a new upstart tennis player is looking dangerously close to overtaking it. Some of my friends who have read this, including Meredith from Reading with Merb, have said that this is very tennis heavy. And I'm not a very big tennis fan, so I don't know how this is going to go down, but I'm not gonna let that put me off actually reading it. Finally on this haul is Thank You for Listening by Julia Whalen. Julia is an audiobook narrator, and she's one of my favorite audiobook narrators. Anytime that I see that the book is narrated by her, I instantly know I'm going to have a good time. She's really expressive. She's a really great reader. She really engages you, especially when it's an audiobook and you kind of need to have that little bit more of excitement when you're reading it out. Not entirely sure what this one is about, but I think it is about two audiobook narrators who have to kind of fly over and back across the country to compare notes or to kind of record separate parts together. And I have a feeling that this is going to be a great book because it's the epitome of writing about what you know. So when Julia is already a really well-established audiobook narrator and she's going to write a story about being an audiobook narrator, I'm in for a good one here. All of those books down there have recently come onto my shelves. Which one do you think that I should start with? Please let me know. If you would like to leave a comment but you can't think of anything to say, then just leave me the book stack emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.